Welcome back. It is your main man, Big I, the talk of the town, Mr. DETVCH.com, and you know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, that means you are just paying attention to something that you just shouldn't be paying attention to. But anyway, this is Meet the Candidate, and I'm here with an amazing human being, a friend of mine, a guy that I met while playing. Well, I wasn't playing. He was playing. He's playing in a band called Special Delivery, and I met him from Out and About magazine, right?
Yeah.
And Special Delivery that you was playing at Pizza by Elizabeth.
Yeah.
That's where it was, and you well known around the world, so everyone knows Jim Miller. What's up, Jim?
How you doing?
I'm good, brother.
It's good to see you.
Nice seeing you, man.
Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
No, man, thanks for coming out, man.
This is a great opportunity.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. But first of all, I got to give respect where respect is due. Thank you to Bull Bay and Wilmington for allowing us to use their beautiful place. If you need some good, I was gonna say some good chicken wings. It'd be so stereotypical. It's a shame. like if you want some good Jamaican cuisine, please come out to Bull Bay. Check them out. Tell them Big Ive and Jim Miller sent you, and they'll definitely take care of you. All right. Now we got all that out the way. Let's get started. Jim, what's happening?
Well, about a month and a half ago, I decided to run for representative of the 3rd District. And
that surprised the heck out of me. I didn't.
It surprised a lot of folks, but I've been writing for Out and About for 24 years.
Yeah.
And I've written about the people and places and events, and I have a real passion for this city.
Yeah.
And I have a real deep knowledge of the inner workings of how the city works.
Yeah.
Between small business, nonprofit, state and city agencies, and neighborhood leaders. And so, I think when you see things like I do think things are improving. I think in a lot of ways the city is improving. Things look better.
Yeah.
We're building this city, but we have to build more than skyscrapers and apartment buildings, and we need to rebuild communities. We need to rebuild people. So, if there's a way that I can help be part of that team, that's what I want to do. And I really want to make Wilmington stronger. I think it can be stronger. I think, and particularly now after I've done this, the people that I talk to, I've seen some amazing things, and I've heard some great stories.
Yeah.
And I've seen how there's a commonality between folks.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in, people are saying the same thing. People believe in this city.
Yeah, man.
And if we can just work together to work on certain problems that are holding us back, I think the sky is the limit.
The dangerous part about this conversation is like I'm talking to a white me. That's what it sounds like. Like we believe in community. We believe in bringing people together. You believe, we both believe in that there's a common in everybody across the field that live here. And as much as we love Wilmington, we know that together we can make this change. And that's amazing to hear.
Well, you're a very positive person. You're doing in your way what I think Out and About has done for 30 years. Is that we're not investigative news.
Right.
That's what the news journal does.
Right.
We're looking and trying to write the stories that are positive.
Yeah.
Give people, you give people hope and inspiration. And there's room for all those things.
Yeah.
But what you're doing, with DETV, is what Out and About has done for a lot of ways. But you do it your own way, and it's it is important to do these things.
Yeah.
And with your passion, I think you might be able to understand where I'm coming from. Is that when opportunity knocked on the door for me, I had to do this. I didn't. I thought about it. I had about a week to decide.
Right.
And the thing that kept coming to my mind is, I don't have a right to complain. Is if when the opportunity comes that I don't take it.
Right.
Right. So, we see everything that's happening nationally, and it seems like there's these rifts that are being created, and it's one party's being pitted against the other, and not just party but groups. And we're not. We're losing cohesion. We're losing some of the things that really are important to this country.
Right.
But locally, we have the ability to change that. We do. And if we believe we don't, then we've lost hope, and then forget about it. But I haven't lost hope.
Right.
And I think that the real critical part of this is focusing on the things that we can change locally.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe those things could have a wider breach, that they can change other things.
Yeah.
But right now, I think Wilmington is on the verge of being, and I hate to say this, but I hate to say it because I know it sounds a little pompous, but I think it could be a world-class city. I think it could be in its size, for its size, it could be a world-class city.
Right.
But we've got a ways to go. There's things that we have to do, and if we can solve them here, maybe they can be solved other places.
Right.
But we have to solve them here first. We have to solve these problems. Getting back to what you talked about, I thought it was really interesting, the conversation we had the other day when we were having a meeting and there was all these community leaders in the room.
Yeah.
And you brought up Murder Town, and it was very therapeutic to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And I'll rehash what it was. It was a meeting of about 30 community leaders, all in a room, and Ivan got up and talked about it was a very honest statement. You were talking about how it hurt to be called Murder Town.
Yeah.
And I had never had a conversation about that in my life. I mean, I'd had conversations between small groups of people, but not in a big public forum.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure anyone else in the room had either.
Right.
And it felt, I don't know how you felt, but it felt very therapeutic to talk about that because it hurt everybody in the room.
Those are conversations that we have in silos, that I have with my black friends, you might have with your white friends. Yeah. And I think what was therapeutic about that, it was, like you said, it was all of us together. Right. And we all had that conversation, but now we can have that conversation together. Right. And that's where,
So, I called you the next day and I was like, I was so thankful that you said that because that was the best part of that conversation. It was for me because I felt like when you can identify those commonalities, then you've got some place that you can work from.
Yes.
And if there's been one thing that I've learned on this campaign, it's knocking on doors. I've knocked on probably a little more than 900 doors, and I've had conversations in all neighborhoods in District 3. Right. It doesn't matter what neighborhood it is. Right. Some of the same things are brought up again and again, right. And it was like that conversation that we had. Yeah. You identify these commonalities and you're like, this conversation I had here is the same conversation I had here. Yeah. And so it makes me wonder if some of these problems couldn't be solved by communication. The problem is that sometimes it's as simple as just being able to, again, identify commonalities and work from those points. Yeah. When we don't talk to one another, whether it's me and you, whether it's me and another neighbor, or neighborhoods in general, when we don't talk to one another, it's really easy to assume the worst in the other person.
That is so true.
So a lot of what I want to try to do is develop dialogues between the neighborhoods. Right. And there hasn't been a neighborhood meeting between all the neighborhoods in years. Right. What I would propose to do in District 3 is have a neighborhood meeting with all the civic leaders and start from there. Right. Right out of the gate, within the first couple months, get all the civic leaders for all the neighborhoods, and let's talk about it, because I think if folks from those neighborhoods knew how folks from other neighborhoods felt, it would develop that. It would get to that commonality, and people would say, you know what, we're all talking about the same problems. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah. Now, and that's a perfect segue to the next question I was going to ask you, is the problems that we can talk about and hopefully bring and start working on, such as public safety, the opioid addiction, basically your platform.
Right. And those things to me, so education is another part of that, job training is another part, and to me, I see these things all connected. Right. I see there's a parallel between the prison cycle and the drug cycle. That we need to interrupt those cycles, because without hope and without survival skills, without job training, we can't expect people coming out of jail to succeed again. Right. If we don't give them the ability to survive, we're just putting, and not only that, we're putting roadblocks. We're putting roadblocks in the way of ex-convicts coming out of jail, and then we expect them to suddenly, as if magic, to to be
Let's just
working
fall back,
citizens.
be working citizens,
And we haven't, in that time, what's not happening is reform, right? So in that time, they haven't had a chance to really get the skills they need to survive.
Right.
And the same thing happens with the drug crisis. We're giving people, we're trading essentially what is a drug and pill addiction with pills.
Yeah.
And it's a quick fix. It's not getting us to the point where we need to be.
Right.
You know, there's drug addiction has easily, that hard drug addiction has easily tripled in the last 20 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And if we don't address this,
Yeah.
it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better.
Right.
And so a lot of these things I think is, you know, we need to create opportunities. We need to create job training opportunities. We need to have better placement for folks that may have developed the skills. Let's get them a job.
Right.
You know, all these things need to be done, and they can be done, but until we do them, we shouldn't expect results either with recidivism or you know, or fighting relapse.
Yeah.
Those two things are very similar. You know, they're cycles, and you know, until we identify those things and until we have more comprehensive reform, we're gonna be going in circles with those folks.
Right, right.
And it's not gonna get any better.
Yeah.
But that said, there are, you know, I've talked to a lot of experts. I've treated this whole campaign like I would like a reporter doing a story, and I've talked to experts. I've talked to folks in the government. I've talked to agency officials. I've talked to neighborhood association members. I've talked to hundreds of neighbors.
Yeah.
But more importantly, you know, I'm looking for, when I do this, I'm looking for a collective truth. Like, what are these people saying?
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of programs that are just pilot programs that are being developed that I would, if I was representative, I would fund those programs. I would get support to that.
Yeah.
And there's a new law that was just passed. It's called Pay to Perform.
Okay.
And that Pay to Perform basically incentivizes private funding to some of these problems. And what it does, what that means is that an investor might say, hey, look, I really care about the opioid addiction problem because I had someone in my family,
Right.
and I like this program.
Right.
I'm going to fund this program. And what the government does is it says, okay, well, if this program is successful, we're going to give you your money back. So the investor gets, and this is called Pay to Succeed. So there's you know, there's these programs here, and what I'd like to do is try to connect the dots. And I feel that's something that I've done very well in my 24 years out and about, is connecting dots. And you know, whether it was raising money for nonprofits, I've helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for nonprofits over 20 years, and I enjoy doing that because lots of times we find creative ways to do it, and it's fun. And at the end of the day, you've done something good.
Right.
So connecting dots is something, I know it sounds goofy, but it's something
Shoot,
that
no,
I think I do really well.
Right.
And so if I felt like if I could do this really well at the magazine, man, if I had the resources of the state behind me, man, I think I could get some stuff done.
Nice.
And I'm really excited about that possibility.
Yeah. I'm big. The last 4 interviews that I've done, the topic has been education. You know, like why kids in Wilmington aren't getting the same things that a kid in my I might not be getting, or that they have antiquated schools that, you know, the heat still don't work or whatever. While other schools, if you go up and down Delaware, they're beautiful.
Right.
You know, and where the school to prison pipeline from education, it's created around there.
Sure.
How do you feel about like this whole education, like this it's a damn shame the way it is. The Aja from the last interview I was talking about, we're talking about teachers not getting paid enough.
Sure.
You know.
Well, so just recently the state did identify teachers as needing more money. So I mean, basically they understood the value of teachers.
Yeah.
Teaching assistants, paraprofessionals. You know, I think that's a step in the right direction.
Right.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, part of this and you hit the nail on the head because these things all connect. You know,
Right.
Prison, drug addiction.
Yeah.
You know, poor education.
Mm-hmm.
We can't expect people to succeed if we don't give them the tools to succeed.
Right.
And you know, one of the things that I've heard a lot about is that Wilmington getting its own high school.
Yeah.
And you know, the rationale behind that is that we're busing kids out into the suburbs. Their parents can't get to some of these schools.
Right.
And so how fair is that to these children?
Right.
To go 8 years without their parents really having an opportunity to interact with them as they might if it was a neighborhood school.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, I went to HB DuPont.
Mm-hmm.
School was about a 5-minute drive from me.
Mm-hmm.
For my city friends, it was, you know, more like a 20-minute drive.
Right.
And how were my city friends' parents supposed to get to HB DuPont?
Yeah.
It's not on a bus route.
Right.
And so there's a disadvantage there. There's a disadvantage in some of the standardized testing we do. We shouldn't teach for standardized tests. We should teach for, let the teachers teach.
Yeah.
We should teach for kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think you also brought up another good point about how some schools seem to have the better resources than others. I think that schools that have special needs should get more resources.
Right.
You know, that's only fair. That's if schools are identified as economically challenged, or there's some sort of special ed component, certainly those schools should get more money.
Yeah,
And I think that there's a lot of people running now who identify that and are going to fight for that. And I would be one of those folks that would fight for that.
Nice.
Absolutely. You know, we need to. Another thing that I think we could do is skills trades.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's a huge demand right now for bricklayers.
Yeah.
For a lot of for apprenticeships.
Yeah.
A lot of the skilled jobs.
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing a Port of Wilmington expansion.
Yeah.
That is going to create probably 5 to 10,000 new jobs.
Wow.
Those folks need to be trained. We
Yeah.
need to have training for people. Those are local, good paying local jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I think part and parcel with that is, you know, tech jobs.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's big right now.
Where's
That's
the future?
huge.
And
Yeah.
we have Zip Code Wilmington that's
Yeah.
been very successful.
Yeah.
I think we could look at trying to do something like that in the middle schools or high schools. You know,
Okay.
if we were to do a high school in Wilmington, I'd fight for it to have some sort of special distinction,
Yeah.
whether it's arts or tech,
Yeah.
or both.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be forward thinking on this,
Yeah.
and let's look where there's opportunities
Yeah.
for folks to succeed.
Yeah, you know, one of the things, Jim, that that the new Wilmington, I like to call it, is how it's building up downtown and also in communities is public safety.
Mhm.
You know, how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, we've seen a pretty impressive turnaround on violent crime in
Yeah.
this past year with the community policing
Mm-hmm.
program that Chief Tracy brought from Chicago.
Yeah,
There's been a 60
because murders is down. Everything shot.
60%.
Violence is down.
Yeah, violent crime is down 60%, and that's
Wow.
incredible. That's a staggering statistic.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more to be done there. As what I understand, that program has only been 20% implemented.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm very excited to see what else Chief Tracy can do.
Yeah.
But I think there's things that need to be done, you know, and this goes back to the opioid and heroin epidemic, is that we need to have better resources.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I talk to neighbors and they're afraid to let their kids play in the park because their kids found heroin needles and you
Remember
know,
those
in the
days.
park. And that's not any way for a kid to grow up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the fact that that we have these great parks.
Hold on, wait a minute.
He was popping.
Oh, okay.
Let's
All right.
don't move so much. 'cause
I think you hit the whatchamacallit. All right,
I
cool.
might have hit something. Sorry about that.
Well, that's what happens when you go live at DETV.
Right.
Little, just to let you know we human.
It's all live. No CGI.
Right.
Yeah, but so I mean, so I would like to see with the community policing interaction with the neighborhood leaders.
Yeah.
So that the neighborhood leaders have better tools to address some of these problems.
Yeah.
You know, I think if there's more, gets back to the communication thing. The more that there's communication,
Mhm.
the more there's an opportunity to really get more resources to fight these problems.
Yeah.
You know, it's to me, hearing about hypodermic needles in a park and kids not able to play there, that just broke my heart.
Yeah.
So, you know, in terms of public safety, I think the primary goal obviously should be let's bring down the gun violence.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's some petty stuff going on that makes people feel unsafe.
Yeah.
You know, there's,
Yeah.
you know, the car break-ins and just the drug addicts roaming our streets
Yeah.
isn't a good look for Wilmington.
Right.
It's not a good look when it's in the main thoroughfares of our city and people are driving in.
Mhm.
You know, we want people to come to Wilmington.
Yeah.
We want people to start businesses in Wilmington. People starting businesses in Wilmington will create jobs. And for, you know, I've talked to developers and real estate agents, and you know, some of these thoroughfares driving in past, you know, some of these drug clinics that are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And literally, it's you have dozens of drug addicts roaming the street. We need and see this whole thing kind of. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How these things are connected?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
public safety, the opioid crisis, and education. Now,
It's like you have to fix everyone at the
Right.
same time.
you do.
Yeah, you can't fix. I'm gonna worry about education and over here and public safety,
Right.
and I'm gonna worry about that next year. It affects it immediately.
Right.
When we
they're
when you do
they're
it.
all like legs to a table.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't give this thing support, things are going to get wobbly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I think there's a lot of hope. I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
positivity from people I talk to.
Yeah.
People, getting back to the conversations that I have door to door, people love this town.
Yeah.
And that's inspiring, and people want to see this town succeed.
Yeah.
And I think people are willing to put in a little work if they see other people putting in
I agree.
a little work. You
I agree.
And-
I agree
and
with
so
you.
that's gets back to the it's a little bit of community organizing.
Yeah.
And I think that if you did community organizing along with community policing,
Mhm.
it would go a long way.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Look, I know you gotta get out of here.
Listen, man, I enjoyed. I
I'm
could do
waiting
this
for I'm waiting for Mark to bring the food. You know, I
Yeah.
want you to try. Have you ever ate here before?
Yeah, yeah.
The food's amazing.
It is really good.
Food's amazing.
There used to be Janelle's. I don't know if you remember.
I remember Janelle's.
Janelle's. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
this has
remember
kind of
Janelle.
filled the void.
Yeah, Janelle's
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah,
I
Janelle,
remember.
yeah.
So and speaking of that, what do you like about Wilmington, man? What do you really like? Like, we watched everything. I know I watched things change in Wilmington.
Right.
What have you seen that changed, and what do you love?
I think, for one, Market Street is having a banner year. Market Street looks the best it's looked in years.
Yeah.
Riverfront, I think about when the week that I was making my decision to run, I thought about, I went down to July 4th on the Riverfront. And that was a great experience because that really impacted me
Right.
in making my decision. I can remember the fireworks, exploding in the sky and the lights, gleaming off the faces of all these people. And, I walked along the river walk, and I could see families, couples, people from all over, every corner of the city.
Yeah.
And it felt good. It felt like it felt like a real celebration, not only of our country, but the city of Wilmington. And to think about, in my mind, I thought about, wow, when I first started working at Out and About 24 years ago, the Riverfront was a disaster.
Yeah, it was just marshland, wasn't it?
It was like mud and gravel. It looked literally like a set of Mad Max had been hit by a typhoon or something.
Right,
It was disaster. And it got better as the years went. There was the baseball stadium was a big help. Big Kahuna, Delaware Theater Company.
You said the Big Kahuna. Wow.
Right. But thinking back to the July 4th, it was just a wonderful feeling. It made me feel so connected to the city, and I wasn't, not like I wasn't prepared for that, but I wasn't expecting that. And I wasn't expecting to see thousands of people there and really feel proud of my city.
Yeah.
And really feel that people were celebrating something. And it didn't matter where they were from, except for that they were from Wilmington. And it kind of goes back to that positivity that we were talking about. And if you can tap into that, if we can connect the dots, we're going to do amazing things in this town. I have no doubt. And I think we have done that to some degree, but we can do so much more. And I think we'll have so much more impact. And this could really be, a storybook city. Like we could really do some amazing things here. And I look forward to doing that. I really hope I have the opportunity to do the things that I envision could be done for Wilmington.
Sweet. Well, Jim, look, I know you got things to do. Thanks, man, for stopping by.
Thank you.
And I really, really appreciate it.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. We got to do this again. So after you win, we'll come back.
Yes.
And we'll do it
We'll do
again.
another one. Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll do like a holiday. Maybe we'll do one during the holidays.
Yeah. No, we want to see you play.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to see you play.
We can do that. That would be fun.
That's
like
what's
that
up.
idea.
Appreciate it,
Thank
bro.
God.
And did I miss anything? Is there anything else you want to tell people before you roll out?
Look, I just I love this city. I have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of belief in this city, and I hope you'll vote for me on September 6th. Thank you very much.
That's what it is. It's your main man, Big Eye, the talk of the town, Mr. DETVCH.com. This is the episode of Meet the Candidate with Jim Miller. Make sure you check it out. You got your website, Jim, so people can check it out?
It's Miller for Delaware. MillerForDelaware.com.
Check it out. More information if you want to see who he is, what's going on with the campaign, and all that great stuff. Right?
Yeah. Thanks again.
Cool.
MillerForDelaware.com. I think it got a little
choppy.
Yeah, something got a little static.
That's what happens when you go live.
We're all live.
All live.
Yeah.
It's your man I and Jim, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.